Hello and welcome back to The Growth Show. I'm your host, Whitney. And today we are talking about the end of an era and specifically when it comes to some of my travels and how I have been living for the past couple years and what's changing. And then also some big changes and shifts in our business as well. So let's get right into it. So if you don't know this about me, I am a full-time traveler. I have been traveling full-time with my husband for 8 years. I actually met him while I was traveling. I started my travels back in 2018, also the same year that I launched my business. So it was a big, busy year for me. I started traveling through a program called Remote Year, where it organized the travel for me for an entire year. I traveled with a group of 30 other people. Dylan, my husband, was in that group as well. And we went to a different country every month for an entire year. And it was really great. It helped organize everything. We all talked about it as like travel with training wheels because they coordinated the flights and the housing and the workspace and the activities and getting us acclimated to the new cities and countries and all of that. I think honestly, having that planning was what allowed us to move so quickly and go to a new country every month for a year, because just that alone, we have found just the planning of moving places can be a lot. And so we don't move every month anymore. We typically stay about 3 to 4 months in a country. And there's a few reasons for that. One is that most countries allow you to come in on a tourist visa if you're a US passport holder for 3 months at a minimum. And then a lot of them allow you to renew it as well, or you can leave the country and then come back to reset that visa so that you can, in effect, stay in a country for a while. We never stay more than 6 months, because if you stay more than 6 months, then you become a tax resident in a lot of these countries. And while we don't think that the Colombian tax authorities are going to come chasing us down to get our taxes, you never know. It's better to just play safe. And so we don't want to ever become a tax resident in any of these countries that we're visiting. And we also don't really like doing a lot of paperwork. So it's been really great. There are a lot of countries that have introduced these digital nomad visas where you can apply and stay in that country for a year or more. But then you are technically becoming a tax resident at that point. You would want to know whether that country is going to kind of like give you a free pass and not worry about that, or if you are going to have to pay taxes, because then that's a thing. So for us, it's just easier for us to move. And frankly, spending 3 months in a place, 6 months in a place is plenty of time for us. We're booking our places through Airbnb. You just need to make sure that you book further in advance, because if you're booking for 3 months at a time, then places get booked up. The good places get booked up pretty quickly. So it does require some planning and all of that. But for us, it's very doable. And one hack that we found, I'm not sure it's really a hack, but we used to really be focused a lot on, okay, does this Airbnb have desks and chairs and good working materials and all of that? And for us now, I like working from home. I do not like going to a cowork. And that's just one more thing that you have to find and figure out and get whether it's a subscription to or whatever. I just really don't like it. It's just so much more efficient for me to work from home and more comfortable. So I'm definitely like a house cat. I like being at home. And so we just buy a desk. And in Latin America, specifically, Mercado Libre is online shopping. I will not say that it is like Amazon in terms of ease of use and delivery windows and all of that. It definitely is not to that level. I don't think much is that can rival Amazon, but it still is definitely very easy. And they have IKEA here now too, at least specifically in Colombia. So we've ordered some stuff from IKEA, and that's been really great. We needed a few more things because we were having guests over and doing some dinner stuff, and just needed like a few more like pieces of Tupperware and containers and stuff. So it's easy to get the things you need. So I think instead of always searching for that perfect place, if it has the right bones, like we do look for 2-bedroom places so that I can have an office. Dylan will work from some other place in the apartment. I also like having my own bathroom. I could act a little spoiled. And my own closet. It's just hard to have, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. So having the two bedrooms allows us to have the space and have an office. And then we can buy an office chair. Like I'm sitting on an office chair that I bought. This is an IKEA office chair. And then the desk I have is from Mercado Libre. And you business expense it and you leave it when you go, and it seems to be fine. So that's a little thing that we've done just to make living and working in these places a little bit easier as we've gone. We've been hanging out a lot in Latin America because of how easy the immigration, visa, tourist situation is. Also, the time zone is obviously very easy with the United States. Right now, we're in Central Time in Colombia, but then outside of daylight savings, it's the same time as Eastern Time. So that's really helpful. Brazil is just a few hours ahead of the United States or out of New York time. So that's been really helpful. But we love Europe too. And the problem with Europe is not a problem, but it's a problem for people that don't have European passports, is that Europe has this thing called the Schengen zone. And I'll say this in very layman's terms because I'm not going to actually explain it fully correctly. But it basically is an agreement with most of the countries in Europe where there is just free travel between those countries. There's no border. There's no immigration checks between Italy and Spain. You can just go and they're not going to be checking because if you're in the Schengen zone and you're moving to other countries within the Schengen zone, it just makes it very easy to freely move. It's kind of like if you think about the states in the United States, if there was a check every time you went from Florida to Georgia, it would just make it less enjoyable to travel around and move freely. So the Schengen zone is really great for people of Europe. And I guess it can be great for tourists that are coming for a short period of time and they can go to different countries without much hassle. But for all of us other people that want to spend long periods of time in places, the problem with the Schengen zone is that you can only stay 3 months in the entire Schengen zone. So it's not like in Latin America or other countries in the world where you can go for 3 months in Colombia, and then we can fly over and spend 3 months in Brazil, and then do 3 months in Argentina and another 3 months in Chile. You could just spend your entire life floating around Latin America and never have a problem. The Schengen zone says that you can only be 3 months in that country in a 180-day period, which means that after 3 months, you have to have what they call a cool-off period. You have to leave for also 3 months. And the problem is that there's not many places to go to cool off outside of the Schengen zone. And yes, you can go to England, you can go to Albania, you can go to Cyprus. Those are places. We've been to Albania. It's a little tough to live there long term. It just doesn't have all of the infrastructure. At least when we were there, it didn't have Uber, and that made it really tough to get around. It was harder to get around the country. So we just really didn't enjoy staying there for a really long period of time. And you'd have to be there for 3 months, basically, if you then wanted to get back into Europe. And also, Europe has seasons. It's not like here in Colombia where, yeah, there might be like a rainy season and a dry season. But here in Medellin, they call it the city of eternal spring for a reason. Like, it's this little microclimate at this high elevation. I'm looking out the window right now. It's gloomy right now, but it's sunny or rainy every day. It's always the same. There's never a bad time or a good time to come to Medellin, Colombia, in my opinion. Whereas in Europe, it's like the United States where, the Northeast, where there's winter and there's times of the year that you don't want to be there. And so if you're thinking about, okay, I'll go there for 3 months during the summer and then I will leave in July and then I'll spend August and September and October in Albania and then I'll come back for November, December, January. Guess what? November, December, January, it's cold. And maybe if you like the Christmas markets and like all of that, but I don't know that you want to be there for 3 months. It's just hard. The reason I went down this little rabbit hole is to explain why we are making a gigantic change in how we have been traveling and living our lives. We are stopping traveling. We are moving to Germany. Now, we are not going to be completely like setting down roots, never traveling again, but What we are planning to do and what we are pursuing is eventual permanent residency, potential citizenship in Germany in order to gain access fully to all of Europe, because a passport in a European country allows you a lot more flexibility and freedom to travel around parts of Europe, to live in other parts of Europe. It just opens up doors. And we had been researching for years to figure out how we could just spend more time in Europe with the least amount of bureaucracy and cost. Because yes, you can apply for a digital nomad visa and spend a year, for example, in Portugal. And yeah, you don't need to spend all year in Portugal. You could get that visa in Portugal, and then maybe you could move around a little bit and kind of fly under the radar and hang out in Europe, but you would need to leave out of Portugal. But the Portuguese digital nomad visa, for example, requires you to apply from your home country. And I tried to record this before and I had microphone issues. I went a little bit about the foreign earned income exclusion in the United States, which is a tax benefit if you spend more than 330 days every year in other countries outside the United States. You can become exempt from up to, I think this year it's like 130,000 of your income from federal income taxes. So that's a huge benefit. So we don't want to spend a lot of time in the United States. And if we were to have to apply for something from within the United States, it requires giving your passport over. Like, we would be stuck there, and then we would lose all of those tax savings that we would have gotten had we not been in the United States. So each thing that we found and came up against just wasn't great. And also, we have been really trying to maximize our savings, minimize our tax burden, so we don't become tax residents in these countries. We haven't had to do a lot of paperwork to be in these countries. So it's been really great for a couple of years. I really have to say, like, I highly recommend this style of travel. It doesn't feel too fast. If you go to 4 countries a year, that's 4 countries a year. That is not very much. That's moving 4 times a year. You get to pay less taxes. Your healthcare costs plummet. You don't need to have expensive insurance. You don't have to do paperwork. And yeah, you're living out of a couple suitcases, but you're getting to see these amazing places, saving a lot of money and experiencing the world. So I highly recommend it. But we are getting to a point where we would love to have a little bit more stability. We'd love to have some doctors that we regularly come back to and be able to spend more time in Europe more frequently than we can right now, where right now all we can do is basically go once a year for 3 months, and then we have to leave the region completely and come back to Latin America. So we had researched a lot, and we are going to have to make some concessions. So we are having to now face bureaucracy and paperwork, and we are applying for the freelance visa in Germany. So that is a visa that you can apply to. You do have to qualify with your profession to do it. There is paperwork. It's definitely not easy to do. We have hired a firm to help us with the process, but it's a 3-year visa. So some people will hire a firm to help them with a digital nomad visa, and you have to do all this stuff, and it's only 1 year. Sometimes you can renew it, but it's, for us, it doesn't feel like very, very long and a good ROI on the investment. So we feel that this is better to do the 3-year visa. It can then be renewed again. And after that time, you can apply for permanent residence and or citizenship. You do need to learn German, so I am prepared. I will need to learn German. That's happening. And we will start paying taxes. So we did, like I said, we have to make some concessions. We recognize that nothing in life is completely free. But for us, this is a worthy use of our money, our resources, our time. We also had been originally, so the things that we were looking for originally was not having to become a tax resident in a country, being able to get some kind of longer term visa or residence permit that was more permanent, that didn't actually require us to be in that country very much and for too long. Because a lot of these countries too, in order for your visa to continue to be valid or your residence permit to be valid, you do need to be there 6 months out of the year, sometimes even more, in order for that permit to continue to be valid. And we didn't really want to be locked down into a country and all of that. However, again, we have shifted our priorities and what we're willing to do, and we're okay with that. What we're planning to do right now is that we're going to be landing in Berlin in early April, and we have an apartment that we've done with Airbnb for 4 months, and then we are going to look for longer term housing, like a 1-year rental at that point. And right now, our plan is to probably stay there for the full year, suffer through the winter, maybe do some like small trips down to like the Canary Islands or southern parts of Europe, or even like top of Africa to get out of some of the cold occasionally, but go through that full process, settle down, put down roots to meet people, build some community, get some friends, get doctors, all of that good stuff. And then start traveling a little bit more frequently. Maybe we would be leaving for 3 months or 6 months at a time to still continue to see the world and all of that. We've always had this goal of having a home base or a few home bases. Obviously, that takes more money and resources if you're going to have a place that you're not always living in. Okay, yes, maybe it can be rented out, but maybe it's not always going to be rented out, or the time that you don't want to be there is also the time that no one else wants to be there, so no one else is going to be renting out your place. So those are all things that we have to continue to think about and factor in. Like, we've really been living we live in nice places, but we have kept overhead very, very low. We are not paying a mortgage anywhere. We're not paying for storage anywhere. Like, we don't have any of these overhead fixed costs. And now having that is going to be an adjustment for us, but that's okay. It's like I said, it's a new era, and it's also going to allow us. I have a friend who is going to be flying into Belgium and going to be in Belgium in December. And now I'm like, oh, I can fly and meet you. And this is an open invitation to anyone who, who is coming to Europe, wants to either come to Berlin, or you're going to other parts of Europe and you want to meet up. I would be happy to. That's the beautiful thing about Europe, is that you can hop on a quick flight or a train, although Germany's a little bit far. So I don't know that I'm going to be training much to parts of Central Europe, but it's not that hard to get to these places. And because I'm going to be more fixed, it will be easier for me to plan to have people come visit, and it will be easier for me to go and visit people and all of that. So I'm really excited for this new chapter in the travels and whatnot. And that's just a little background about how we've been able to live the way we've been living and what we've been doing, where we've just been jumping to different countries every couple months, keeping the paperwork very low. And now we're moving into a phase where we are going hardcore into paperwork and taxes and all of that, but in service of some longer term stability and helping us achieve our goal of being able to spend more time in Europe, and also having a place that we could retire to as well and feel good about that too. We don't have plans to return to the United States. So where is that other part of the world where we would feel that the medical care is good enough, the infrastructure there is good, that as we continue to age, that it would be a good place to be. That's a ways off, hopefully, but just a little background on that. So that's how I've been traveling, or how we are now changing a bit of our traveling. And if you have any questions, if you are wanting to either travel a little bit or begin traveling a lot, this is always a topic I love talking about, but hopefully this clarified just a few things as you're maybe ruminating about what could be possible for you in the future. All right, so let's shift gears quickly here for a second and talk a little bit about the business and what's changing there, and what era we're moving into. So I covered this a little bit earlier in the year. Many of you responded to the audience survey that we did, which was just immensely helpful and opened up a lot of conversations and new ideas and things for me to be thinking about in terms of how I can continue to serve you, serve the profession, and just help health-focused entrepreneurs really grow and have these practices that do still feel sustainable and possible. I know that the world is it's really messed up right now. I'm not gonna try and make this an explicit episode. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it is rough, and I think there's probably not one person who's listening to this episode that is impacted. There's definitely certain people that are benefiting off of some of the things that are happening, but for most of us, that is not the case. There's just challenges everywhere you look. But the thing that remains is that we still need to keep moving forward. We still need to hang on to our businesses. We need to adapt, and I think find support in one another even more. I'm trading more voice notes with some colleagues and really getting a lot out of that. I just think that it is a difficult time. Just don't blame yourself, but we do need to be maybe doing some things that are uncomfortable. And that brings me to what I'm shifting. So for many years, a lack of confidence in my abilities to teach about certain things or help people with certain things, or even just be able to hold the space for people as they worked through certain things like marketing, for example. I struggled so much with my marketing. I had so many feelings about it. And I was like, how could I ever possibly support other entrepreneurs? This was so hard for me. And then I realized that's the point is it's hard for you. You need other people to support you. And so I can be that support, but I just had so much confidence issues with it. And it just really, I had a lot of fear too about what I knew and what I would be good at and what people would want from me. And so it held me back for many, many years from expanding and trying new things, getting outside of my comfort zone and pushing myself to do some other things. And so I will also just share, it's not going to be a surprise, that our last launch was not great. It didn't hit our goals. It was our spring launch. Really grateful for the practitioners who did join us, and we are serving them and helping them launch their websites. And the passion that I have for helping dietitians and health practitioners launch their websites is still there, but I need to also make sure my business is viable and running and all of that. And that launch being less than what I really needed it to be was honestly really the kick in the pants that I needed to get over a lot of the limiting beliefs. And laziness is not the right term, but that's all I can describe it as right now, is that I just didn't want to push myself. I did not want to go outside of what I had already established. And I was being stubborn. I wanted the thing that I built to work, and I just wanted to keep efforting through that. And then this finally was like, maybe it's not the offer or the product. It's maybe just that the circumstances and the market has changed. There's so many different things at play. And that's why I was saying, like, we have to pivot and we have to figure out what else can we be doing right now that is going to get people where they need to go and what they need, because the problems have not gone away. In some instances, for some of you, the problems have expanded for your client base and the people that need your help. So then if that's the case, but then they're not buying your services, then it means that we need to find a new way to deliver services, or a new way to talk about things, or a new way to reach people that we hadn't been doing before. So it doesn't mean that you need to stop or that there's something wrong with you. It's just that you really do need to pivot. And I think the longer that we hold on to this should be working, it worked before, it just becomes more painful and frustrating, and you just lose time. And it's fine. Like, we all need to process things in our own time. And I processed the heck out of this for years before I finally was like, okay, it's time to do some different stuff. Here we are. What I can say though, is that I know now that I'm going in the right direction, because I'm waking up every day. I'm going to get a little emotional. So energized, so excited, and so hopeful that the doubt and heaviness that I had in the past when I was thinking about new offers, that's not there. And so I hope that you can find that for yourself too, whatever that is in your business, because that is something that we need too. We cannot just be trying to push ourselves through things that are just hard and not lighting us up, because business is so difficult. Entrepreneurship is so difficult. And we deserve to also still feel excited and thrilled about what we're working on, even if we are scared beyond belief about whether that thing is going to work, but we can't let that fear be overshadowing the actions that we're taking. And so I'm very excited because I am feeling like motivated and that self-doubt voice is just so much smaller than it used to be. And yeah, I don't really know why. I think it is a mindset shift that I was just like, okay, we have no other option. So you just got to move forward. And this is hard for everyone. So don't make it about you being hard. It's hard for you. It's hard for everyone. What if it doesn't work? Everyone's wondering, what if it's not going to work? So you just got to try. So we are starting to see some new ways to work together. And so you are going to see some of these new ways that you can work with me and work with my team, new ways that I can help you, things that I have been doing for years in my own business, things that we have just been doing as we market our business and continue to keep it going, growing, and all of that. Things that have been working for us, things that I've been learning. It's funny, I used to think that I don't spend a lot of time investing and learning, and then I realized all of the coaching that I'm getting and the things that I am doing in my own business, that is just so much application and trial and error and experimentation. And so I am also now trying to get back to a little bit more of that like didactic learning of just, okay, what are some concepts that I need to be bringing in? What are the new things that I need to be learning about some of these other places? But just the practical application of marketing and all the different marketing tactics that one can do to grow their business, whether it's ads or new funnels or running a bundle or doing podcast guesting or running a podcast or being in summits, doing virtual events, networking, collaborations. Like I've been doing all of that. And so I'm learning about all of that. And that's something that I can help you with too. Those are things that I have been doing all along. I just haven't really been saying, how can I help other business owners with these things as well? But I know that there are things that need to be done and that you probably have questions about. So I'm excited to help you with that. And also, a lot of the things that you're going to see coming out from us are going to be more on the done for you side of things, because the sense that I have gotten over the past couple months is really that time is just completely out the window. We have such limited time. There's a lot of stuff pulling at our energy, at our attention. And so the time that we may have had a couple years ago to sit down and watch videos and learn how to do something, that time just does not exist anymore. And also with the state of the economy and the world and how uncertain a lot of things are, there's also this feeling of, I also don't know that I can spend months learning and working on this thing and not be sure if it's going to work. I want to help you get much closer to implementation and shipping a product and shipping whatever it is, a new funnel, an ad sequence, your lead magnet, a new sales page, a whole website. I want to get that out much more quickly for you so that we can see what's working, what's not, and adjust it and all of that. We need to move much more quickly, and we can. I'm very excited about the tools that we're putting together and the ways that we're finding for us to move quickly and still have a really great product, but also being able to balance that. Okay, where can we cut things that maybe I thought were really important before, that now these days I'm seeing, okay, maybe that's not the priority anymore. And we need to more look at, how can we make it fast? How can we take more of the burden off your plate? How we can make sure that the end result is as high quality as it possibly can be, and then go from there. So one of the first things that you're going to be hearing about me, so giving you a little bit of a spoiler right now, tying back now to bringing it all full circle to my travel lifestyle, my remote lifestyle. I know that many people dream of having a location independent business. And for so many of us, or so many of you, during the pandemic, things moved online. And I know for myself too, I can do so much more virtually now than even before the pandemic. I was running my business remotely, but now people are so much more comfortable being online, being on Zoom, having these distance conversations and not always needing to be in person. So it's opening up and continuing to open up a lot of opportunities for you to deliver care remotely. And so I know that that's something that is accessible for a lot of you, but then there still might be that question of how do I start moving in that direction? How do I start making my business feel like I could even possibly be traveling and not just be glued to my desk, whether it's seeing patients or it's having to do all of the other admin and marketing and trying to find clients and find new people and build my audience. If you feel just like completely overwhelmed with the mountain of work that you have to do in your business, then I don't blame you that you're like, there's no freaking way that I want to be traveling to Colombia and having to figure out where to buy a desk. Like, I get it. That is absolutely not. I'm going to stay in my house and just deal with it. And I don't know when this is going to get better, but I can't possibly think about doing that now. So the things that we need to do is we need to free up your time, and we need to have things running that are doing the work for you and building your business and getting you out there and getting that visibility and getting that traffic and getting people to know about you and automatically getting people to book a first call or automatically sharing more about what you do and building that relationship so that you are not manually having to do all this. We really need systems running in our business. That's what I worked on a lot, and that's what's allowed me to live this way and move and be able to have the brain space to also navigate new countries every couple months and still have time for friends and taking care of my health and cooking meals every night and all of that. There's a lot that goes into it. I don't have kids, I have to say. So that's one burden of energy that I don't have to deal with. But there's always things that are like taking our time. But the more that we can systematize in our business, the better off we're going to be to free up that time so that we can do more things that we really want to do. And so one thing that has really helped us in building that system and growing more automatically is ads, and Facebook and Instagram ads specifically. And I waited way too long to do them. I was scared. I was scared of them. I thought they were going to eat my money. I thought someone was going to come in and take advantage of me, and it was going to be really expensive. And I wasn't ready for ads yet. And I didn't really quite understand how they worked, and I didn't understand their purpose. And I held off, and I was just very scared for a long period of time. Maybe you're in that boat. Maybe you have worked with someone in the past and you had a bad experience with ads. And I'm sorry about that. I think there are a lot of predatory ad people out there. You could go to an agency and spend thousands for ads and not have anything to show for it. So that definitely happens. But what I really want to do is help you actually learn the basics and fundamentals of ads and get you set up with a really simple ad campaign first so that you can see that ads can work for you as well and get that system running. So for us, it didn't happen overnight, having the system and the leads coming in and having it working. We did have to experiment and learn things, and that's what we did. But once it's built, then the system is really, it's moving people through, it's getting me in front of new people. It supplements the other marketing that I'm doing. Now, I am not going to live networking events or things like that. I'm not doing a lot of speaking, but I am still networking. I'm still doing virtual events. I'm not posting. I have my team member Priscilla posting our podcast on social media, but I don't think about social media at all, one bit. So we're doing just the things that are good for us and that we enjoy doing. And then the ads are just that underlying current that is helping support all of it. And so I know so many of you struggle with marketing. You're trying to figure out, like, how do I make it work? How do I get more people to see my website, to see my business, to see what I'm offering, getting people to book calls without it feeling so manual, trading DMs back and forth with people. This is really one of the ways to do it. So later this week, I'm going to be kicking off a 3-part series all about ads. And I'm actually going to be bringing Priscilla on as well. So it's going to be really fun, like conversational. Just if you were sitting in on a meeting with us and we were chatting all about ads and what we know, what works, what doesn't, dispelling some myths, helping you understand how they could work for you, how to know if you're at the right stage in your business for them to work for you. So we're really just going to dig into all of that. And so if you have tried them but never got them off the ground, or maybe you're just a little ad curious, then this series coming up later this week is totally for you. So make sure that you subscribe to the podcast so that you can get notified when the episode comes out. It's going to be dropping on Thursday. So that is it for today's podcast episode. Like I said, we covered a lot of different ground, new stuff with travel now, new stuff in the business. I'm excited about all of it. And if you have any thoughts about this episode, any follow-up questions about anything that I talked about, you can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm not posting on there, but I am definitely checking my DMs. So feel free to shoot me a note at Whitney Bateson and let me know what's on your mind. If you think someone else would benefit from this episode, I would always love you to share the episode with others. You can also give us a rating and review. That's always super helpful. And otherwise, I will see you on our part 1 of our ad series coming up later this week. All right, thanks for listening.